Now, in Australia, the Prime Minister, Gillard, has announced a national inquiry into how institutions have reacted to child sex abuse allegations. She made the announcement after a senior policeman claimed that the Catholic Church in the Hunter Valley of New South Wales destroyed evidence of abuse and conspired to disrupt police investigations.
There have been too many revelations of adults who have averted their eyes from this evil. I believe in these circumstances that it's appropriate for there to be a national response through a royal commission. This, I hope, will help with healing, but I specifically hope that its recommendations will help us ensure that this never, ever happens again.
Then we can maybe talk.
Well, our correspondent Duncan Kennedy is in Sydney. He gives more background to the inquiry and the senior police officer who lifted the lid on the case.
He really has been the pivotal force behind all this. Before that, there have been one or two state inquiries into child abuse, mostly in the Catholic Church. There's one going on in Victoria at the moment. But this police officer went on television last week and spoke about this cover-up in northern New South Wales, which is just up the coast here from Sydney. And that really stunned people. They hadn't seen a police officer, in a sense, break ranks like this. He spoke of this cover-up, how he wasn't getting any cooperation from the Catholic Church. And over the weekend, there have been all sorts of discussions among politicians and campaign groups saying the time has come now to look at this nationally, because this police officer, Peter Fox, was saying that a lot of these priests travel across borders, they're put into other parishes to hide the Catholic Church's embarrassment, and it's time now to look at the whole problem on a national, not a state level, and that's exactly what the Prime Minister, Gillard, has now done. She said this needs to look across Australia, not just in individual states, in order to get to the bottom of what she called this nationwide evil.
And we're talking potentially many children who are feared to have had this sort of abuse inflicted on them.
It's absolutely huge. Just on that state inquiry in Victoria, I was just mentioning there in the south of Australia, in the city of Melbourne alone, 74 members of the clergy have been implicated in all this. And this inquiry has heard evidence from 620 individual cases, individual people who've come forward to make complaints against the Catholic Church in this case. Now, a lot of these complaints go back to the 1930s, although the vast majority were in the 60s, 70s and 80s. So just in that one state alone, it's hundreds and hundreds. And campaigners think that's just the tip of the iceberg, just those people who've been prepared to come forward. So what this inquiry, what this Royal Commission will now do, will look nationally, not just Victoria, but all the other states as well, and also not just the Catholic Church, but all religious organisations, state care providers, not-for-profit bodies, schools, charities, anywhere there's been a claim of abuse, which makes this Australian Royal Commission, this Australian inquiry, much wider than those, say, that's taken place in Ireland or the United States.
Duncan Kennedy there in Sydney.